This is a very unique railroad because we are on about 40 acres that has been designated as a nature park. It's a railroad in the park. This is the Mackerel Flats and Goat Hill Junction Railroad, operated by the Orange County Model Engineers. It's a 1/8 scale model railroad that covers about 4 miles of track.
Goat Hill was an affectionate name that it was a nickname given. This is a story that I've been told, so take it with a grain of salt. I understand that up here, this was called Goat Hill by the residents of Newport Beach, and those folks down there were called Mackerel Flatters. So you were either from Goat Hill or from Mackerel Flats. And when the train club incorporated, they needed a name for the railroad, and it was very clever that someone came up with the Goat Hill Junction and Mackerel Flats Railroad. We tried to accommodate both cities. Every third weekend of the month, from 10 to 3:30, Saturday and Sunday, we provide free rides to anyone that shows up.
Anybody can ride the train. We've had all kinds of people, including handicapped people, that will ride the train. But I would say mostly adults, but a lot of kids, maybe half and half. And there's kids that like the train that are this high. And
we have kids this big. Kids this big have more fun because we get to run the trains. So not only do we entertain the little ones, but also adults. And there's no weight limit on our cars or any of that.
It's all types of people, grandmas, grandpas, dads, sons, grandsons. It's a real family-friendly environment out here. And depending on the weekend, we have a number of different routes that we can go. Sometimes we'll go northbound, sometimes southbound. We have a dog bone loop. It's about a 15-minute ride on the train. Our store has different railroad items for toys and whatnot. And it's just a real great family place to come and enjoy the park, enjoy the outdoors, and go for a free railroad ride.
On the other 3 Saturdays of the month, the trains are available for a donation to hold a private party. Typically, it's birthday parties for young kids. And they are an absolute ball to volunteer to work a birthday party because you don't have the stress of a huge line of people. You don't have the chaos of 1,000 people here on a day. You get to spend loads of time with the kids. You can stop the train, you let them throw switches, you let them blow the horn, you let them decide what route you want to go on.
Most of the kids seem to go out of here with a big smile on their face, and that just tickles me plumb to death.
What got me started in OCME is really my fascination for trains as a little kid. When I was probably 5, I first came down here with my family. We went on a train ride. A couple years later, came again, and after that second trip, never stopped coming. So it's really since the fascination of trains that drew me here, and especially since I first came here, every time I came here, there's a steam engine running. Nowadays, I try to keep that up for the little kids by running the steam engine that you might see behind me.
We have gasoline hydraulic locomotives that the club uses. These are usually two-cylinder engines that drive a hydraulic pump that drive hydraulic motors through a chain drive. They're pretty efficient, pretty powerful. We have locomotives that are powered by battery, and we have others that are powered by steam.
Maintaining a steam engine requires a lot more work. With a diesel engine, the only thing you got to do is put fuel in it, maybe fire it up, maintain it once a year. With a steam engine, there's constant maintenance. Oiling has to be done roughly every 3 hours prior to, during, and finishing running. Before running, the flues, which are the pipes running within the boiler, where the heat from the flyer is transferred through, those have to be cleaned out through all the dust that builds up into it.
By the time you get it out, get it fired up, get everything loaded, it takes about an hour and a half before you can go out and run them. We're a scale model. Almost everything on a railroad that you see is here scaled down to by 1/8. 1.5 inches to the foot. So our rails then, the space between the rails, which is called gauge, is 7.5 inches. And that is approximately 1/8 of a standard gauge, which is 4 feet 8.5 inches. The club was actually incorporated in 1985, and prior to that, there was several members that I believe started in Long Beach. They segued into Orange County. They were looking for a location to establish a railroad.
Irvine was interested, Fountain Valley was interested at Mile Square Park, and it turns out that Costa Mesa was pretty much the first city to respond. And offered us this space here in Fairview Park. The club was originally encouraged by the city of Costa Mesa. They seeded the club with a check for $2,000 when we first formed. At that time, we had nowhere near the amount of track here. We had basically a circle up by the station. We didn't have a station. We didn't have restrooms. It was just land with a big oval of track on it.
I believe it was about 87, 88 when they finished the first 600-foot loop. In 85 is when they actually incorporated as the Orange County Model Engineers. This is what we call our compound, and we have our steaming bays to the left where the members can roll out their equipment, work on them, prepare them for a run day. On my right are our storage containers, and all the containers from here back have private equipment in there.
If you're a member here and you own equipment, if you have a train or cars or whatever, you're allowed to store them here. And as you might guess, I mean, a 1,000-pound engine is not something that you throw in the trunk of your car and wheel around. So having storage here is a major, major benefit.
Further back behind me is our clubhouse, kind of our general rendezvous area, and then our machine shop and storage bins are again further back behind me. So this is kind of where all the work gets done. We build track panels here, we build switches here, repair locomotives, and then we load all this stuff on flat cars and take it out and do work.
I think that it's important to have the railroad here in the park for a couple of reasons. Number one, we're a very non-intrusive, passive way to show off the park to the general public. In addition, we provide free rides every third weekend of the month, 12 months a year. The only thing that stops us is occasionally we've gotten rained out, but it provides a free introduction to the nature aspect of Fairview Park.
I dedicate Saturdays to my days coming down here. Every Saturday is my train day. I have to come down here, relax from a stressful week, whether it be friends, family, school. all of that coming here gets relieved. If anything, if it's the worst comes to worst, I get to ride a train, and it's relaxing. I go out on the furthest part of the track and just maybe take a break, turn off the engine, sit down, watch the birds fly by over the nature park. It's really beautiful. So even if I'm not busy or if I am busy, I always try to come down here just to relax a little bit.
I was riding my bike through the park on the 4th of July, and I happened to stumble across one of the steam engines at the train crossing. And so I struck up a conversation with the engineer, who was Mark, and we got to talking. He gave me a train ride. And a couple months later, I needed some volunteer service hours. I'm like, okay, well, the train's pretty close. I'll go up there. So I went up there, found out I actually kind of enjoyed it. It's actually kind of fun, and I would bring my friends out from school. They'd help out as well. So, and plus I had liked trains as well as a kid. Everyone does, Thomas and all that stuff. So it kind of connected the two, and I just kind of had fun. There's a wide range of stuff that I can do. Like I can do all of my photography stuff up here as well. I can run the trains, work on them. Plus there's all the people, so it really never does get boring up here.
Is this a cool one? Sure.
It is amazing how many people that live very close to this that don't know we're here. And so that's been kind of our focus this year, has been trying to get that word out. And they come from all over Southern California, a lot of folks from Irvine, Rancho Santa Margaritas, and even up into Long Beach and Downey areas. We've had just a lot of people from a lot of areas.
With the club itself, usually we'll get here around probably 2 hours before opening, and there'll be a team that's up at the station, and they'll prep the grounds. Like they'll clean up, throw out the trash, normal housekeeping stuff at the station, plus add in the speaker system, the sounds for the announcements. Down below, all the trains will get ready, so they'll get cleaned up. The bench cars will be lined out in the yard, and then their engines will head out to meet them and then head up to the station. So it's a really smooth process. The engines hook up to the trains, just head straight up to the station. With steam engines, usually the owner, because they're all owned privately, they'll get here a couple hours before and just spend the time gradually building up pressure in the engine. That's called firing up the engine. So they'll come and do that separately on their own. But then they'll head up around the same time to pull people.
Well, good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Mackerel Flats and Goat Hill Junction Railroad. It's a very exciting day for us, us being the Orange County Model Engineers. So this very unique time for us. It's been over 10 years since we've had a new locomotive, and we finally got one delivered. It was actually built here in the US of A, built by a company called the Train Works in Sutherland, Oregon.
Buying engines for this hobby, it's not like buying a car. They're all handmade. They're all made to order. And so we placed the order earlier this year, and the Train Works did a marvelous job.
All right, on the count of 3. 1, 2, 3. We have about 200 members, individual members. They are all over the country. Obviously not regular members that attend, but we have a core of about 30 to 40 individuals that will come out, men and women. And some of them are the ladies work in the stores. Other people are just support. We have train crews, relief train crews.
Many clubs that are specialty interests, like this model railroading, they've all seen a decline. Stamp collecting clubs, car clubs. There's just been an overall decline in membership, and so we're really thrilled that we've had such a tremendous year so far. We've done a lot of outreach. There is a train show over at the fairgrounds every spring. We attended that. We brought trains over, ran them back and forth. We did the concerts in the park, all 4 concerts in the park.
Those who came before me lived through their vocations from the past.
I'm with the Orange County Model Engineers,
and we have 5.5 miles of riding railroad.
Well, it kind of looks like this, right? I mean, it fits us. It fits anybody, right? We can.
We have kids this big and we have kids this big.
All right.
And the kids this big have more fun because we get to run the trains.
20,000 feet of track. We've got about 104 switches out here that all requires maintenance. Usually there's somebody out here every Wednesday, every Saturday. Some of us come out several times during the week, and some guys will come out just work on track work, reballasting, re-leveling it.
The club is like any club. It's the 80-20 rule that 20% of the members do 80% of the work. As you can see that there are members behind me loading up panels. We build the tracks in 10-foot sections, and they get assembled out in the field. We have a monthly members meeting, and that is preceded by a work day. The first Saturday of every month is a work day for us.
And the last Saturday of the month. We're into, right now, doing, I like to say, 30 years of deferred maintenance. And we're in the process of replacing all of our old track. We've got most of our main line done. There's some other, another 3,000 odd feet of track that we want to do up on the north end, we call our Mountain Division.
And we're replacing them now with plastic. It's all made from recycled water bottles. And we expect it should have about a 50-year life, so it will far exceed what we originally built here in the last 30 years.
Railroading isn't quite what it used to be, but it's still a major, major economic engine for this country. And I think the golden age with the old steam lines, I think has probably lost a lot of its luster, but so we try to keep that alive. We just last year got a new 30-year agreement with the city. So I hope these youngsters that are coming on board will take advantage of that, and they'll hopefully expand it another 30 years.
Working here with the individuals every Saturday, I find everyone quite pleasant. Sure, we all have our ups and downs, but it all determines on how the check's going to get laid. And in the end, it gets laid, it runs great. So really, everyone, I find there's something nice to learn. With one of our members named Craig, he's able to taught me a little bit more about electrical that I didn't know before. Dixon, who's the owner of the steam engine I operate, he's taught me so much over the years. Electrical, welding, plumbing, many, many, many other resources that I don't think I've learned in a school. It all becomes more personal when you're working with a certain individual rather than like a class. There's other members that I just love talking to because they're so friendly too. At our club, a lot of the members here are so friendly, and it really helps draw in newer members in. We probably have, I would say, 7 to 8 new members within the past 2 months.
The club raises all of our money through donations. Donations, sales from our store at the station, and birthday parties are our 3 main sources of revenue, probably also to include membership fees. We only average about 48 cents a ride from the general public on our free run days. They're free, but we ask for a donation to keep the trains running. And it averages about 48 cents a ride. When I mentioned that at City Council, I got a distinct sense of amazement that it was so small, that we could eventually, buy a $22,000 engine on 48 cents a ride.
We really try to encourage the youngsters that come out with their dads usually, and that's the new blood for the club. I think our average age, I don't know our average age, but it's getting up there. So we'd like to get new blood in to keep the club going.
We've already had a major turnover in the club membership. I think there's only maybe 2 of the founding members that are still with us and active. We try and encourage as much as we can youth activities here in the park.
I didn't just fall in love with the trains, I fell in love with like the work behind them. Because the people just come here to ride the trains, but then they find out it's not all just riding trains and just going through the park all day. You have to kind of get your hands dirty on occasion. And so if you enjoy that aspect, you'll be just fine.
Having passion as a young child will further you in where you want to go into life. If you have a passion for one thing or another, follow it. Don't give up on it. Even if it's just slightly behind your mind, don't give up on what you love the most. Because over time, you'll get more involved with it, you'll learn more things, and you'll enjoy it even more. Whether it be trains, planes, aircraft, computers, it could be anything. Follow your passions and your dreams, whatever it may be.
I have a really amazing anecdote. My wife and I traveled by train from LA to New Orleans. On the train, in the dining car, you're seated 4 people to a booth. So you sit with strangers. I was wearing a train hat, and one of the 2 ladies that we were seated with said, looks like you like trains. And I said, yes, I do. Matter of fact, I belong to a club in Costa Mesa, California, and I have a picture of me in my engineer outfit on my phone, and I showed her. And when I mentioned Costa Mesa, the Amtrak employee, the head of the dining car, stopped and said, are you from Costa Mesa? And I said, yes. And she said, you're kidding. And I said, well, here, and this is me. This is my engineer Hank outfit. She said, you're from Goat Hill Junction? I said, yes. She said, I used to live in Costa Mesa. I was a single mother of 2. And you guys provided pretty much our only regular entertainment. She said, we were poor as church mice. And the fact that you offered free rides, and we would bring a picnic lunch, we would spend the day, we would ride the trains, we would poke through your store, we would bring a kite, we would fly kites, we would walk around and look for birds. She said, you guys just do an amazing job for the community.